Ever since we first got a look at it in October of 2017, we've been intrigued by Ghost of Tsushima's fast-paced gameplay and gorgeous graphics. Featuring a samurai on the Japanese island of Tsushima, Sucker Punch, the studio behind this last major PS4 exclusive, has managed to keep an air of mystery surrounding the adventure. The latest gameplays we've seen leave us with an idea of a cross between Assassin's Creed and Sekiro. But what really is Ghost of Tsushima? You play as Jin Sakai, a samurai at the head of the Sakai clan, who's caught up in a war against the Mongols to defend his country. Jin quickly finds himself confronted with moral decisions that will force him to turn from the life of a samurai and take up a path as Tsushima's ghost. The main storyline follows the usual framework of a samurai movie. Jin has been training for this life since he was a small child, watched over by his uncle, who thinks of him as a son. Being a samurai means following a code of honor, both in the way you attack and kill your enemies, and in the way you live your life. The game's plot does a pretty good job of developing this duality between a samurai who's always got to face his enemies head-on, and a ghost who's nothing more than an assassin and a thief without honor. It's a quest that unfolds over 3 acts and moves quickly towards a relatively obvious ending. The story never really managed to surprise or move us, in spite of some truly incredible voice acting, both in Japanese and in English. That said, players do get a chance to take part in missions known as Tales of Tsushima and Mythic Tales. The Tales of Tsushima are side quests that allow you to look into the lives of some NPCs and to follow the backstories of the characters that accompany you. The Tales offer up to 9 missions per character, in which Jin helps the NPC in their personal storyline. You get to see relationships between the characters develop, and you start to understand how these secondary NPCs are implicated in the war against the Mongols. This is where the game offers a lot more in terms of surprises to the storyline and emotional attachment to its characters. Not all of the characters are treated with the same depth, but overall, it gives you a sense of a real and well-crafted world. The Mythic Tales are also important in that they bring you to a storyteller who can tell you where to find new armor. You'll have to use strong observational skills for these treasure hunt games, which will take you to the 4 corners of the map. The exploration phases are enjoyable, and the environments are absolutely gorgeous. That said, there's no minimap, and you've got to steer by following the wind. That's especially a pain when you're traveling for the first time and you end up constantly swiping on your pad to activate gusts. Outside of the Mythic Tales, there's not really any visual or audible indicator for where you're supposed to go. It's disappointing for such a central functionality. Another cool addition is that you can play the game in black and white, although it's a bit of a shame to not see all the gorgeous colors. The weather changes in-game, and Jin can find himself in a storm or in front of a beautiful sunset. You'll travel through bamboo forests and under trees dropping their vividly colored leaves. The whole thing is accompanied by a gorgeous soundtrack that sends you straight to Sengoku-era Japan. Unfortunately, Ghost of Tsushima is far from perfect. You can feel that they've done deep and good work on the universe, especially the environments and graphics. But the gameplay, side quests, and open world detract from Jin's epic saga. The open world is big and a faithful representation of the real island, but it's really devastatingly empty. You won't run into anyone outside of a few villages, refugee camps, temples, and Mongol camps. The discovery points are camps or side activities like fox dens, haiku, or bamboo games. The activities allow you to unlock skills or slots for your equipment, but it's all pretty repetitive and basically without any real interest. Overall, Ghost of Tsushima is a pretty simple game. Throughout the adventure, you never really feel like you need to use your skills points to unlock new techniques. The samurai battle style is based on standoffs and on katana combat with 4 different stances. Each stance allows you to stun a different kind of enemy more easily, a bit like in Nioh, although it's a more simplified version of that. You'll have to learn to dodge and counterattack. The game's pretty lenient when it comes to timing, but your health deteriorates rapidly under the many blows of your enemies. When you're playing in Ghost mode, which is to say stealth mode, you'll need to use tall grass, your bow and arrow, and a few gadgets you've got at hand to avoid your enemies. Either way though, you'll wind up fighting against the same enemies, and you'll find yourself caught in a gameplay loop that's basically the same from beginning to end, no matter the quest. That's especially obvious in the main and secondary quests, which send you to a secondary character, launch a cutscene, and then send you on an extremely scripted mission after a bit of loading time. It's so scripted that if you go just a few steps off the path, you'll end up with a timer that forces you back onto the right path. Some missions also force you to use a predefined kind of gameplay. Some passages are exclusively stealth, while others are much more predestined for combat with a katana. Sometimes there were so few options when it came to hiding places while playing as the Ghost that we preferred to simply charge into battle and enjoy some strong katana gameplay. You'll end up cutting through a lot of trash mobs from different factions, but there aren't enough of them. As a result, the game seriously lacks in diversity when it comes to close-quarter combat. It's also a shame that there aren't more boss fights, because these are really well done visually and require a lot of hardcore concentration to succeed. Of course, they're not as complicated as, say, bosses in a Souls-like, but you really get a sense of the high stakes, emotions, and for the savoir-faire of Jin and his enemies in combat. With the imperfect gameplay, the transition from samurai to ghost kind of misses the point. As a ghost, you're really limited in what you can do. You can't really expect to just assassinate everyone by leaping from the walls like in Assassin's Creed. Not that we expected that, but we would have appreciated more freedom and more techniques that allow you to feel a transition in the gameplay that really follows the storyline. In spite of its drawbacks, Ghost of Tsushima is still enjoyable to play. The storyline isn't groundbreaking, but it does take you to a place that's pretty underrepresented in Western cultures. Jin Sakai is a character that you can get attached to, and he's accompanied by some interesting NPCs who add to the adventure. The landscapes are absolutely breathtaking and bring a bit of poetry to a land that's ravaged by war. The whole thing is drenched in samurai culture, in honor, and in a sense of duty to one's family and one's country. Ghost of Tsushima will release exclusively on PS4 on July 17th.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a Gamologist, click down here to subscribe. If you want to see more episodes, click on the video on the left. And for more shows, click on the right. Sounds easy, right? See you next time. Bye!